I can't get over the fact that that stained glass
And
piece
we're
is.
live.
Hello, and welcome to the Modern Romantic Podcast, where we celebrate and inspire romanticism through passionate people doing incredible things. Hi, I'm waving at you through a stained glass window. Hi, I'm Trey.
Oh.
And I am joined by my co host today, Emily. Hi, Emily.
Hi. That's so good. That was so good. I don't even have any. That's so good. I
Sorry.
also love stained glass windows. So, he gets me every time. He's like, I'm going to make up something to say at the beginning of this intro, and you're not going to know what it is, and you're not going to know how to respond.
Okay, well, I am sorry, but I also, like at work, I'll be thinking about it. I'm like, okay, no, that's too corny. No, that's way too cheesy. There's just got to be the right level of cheesiness to these introductions for me. Otherwise, it's too over the top. But you know who isn't too over the top and who I'm excited to get to speak to today? Our podcast guest. Will you please? Okay, now I will admit that was super cheesy.
Oh, it was painful.
Emily, will you please do us the honor of introducing our guest today?
Yes. Yes, I
Okay.
would.
I can also barely hear you.
In this, what's that?
I can barely hear you.
You can barely hear me. Great. How about now? Okay, my mic is doing that thing again.
Okay.
I'm just gonna have to. Maybe if I sit back here. Okay, that might be better. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So, in the spirit of true romanticism, which would involve stained glass, we have a phenomenal stained glass multimedia kind of artist, Cheri Bohn, with us today. Welcome to the podcast, Cheri.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thanks
Thank
for being
you.
here.
One, for our listening only audience, you are missing out on an incredible visual right now. Cheri is sitting in front of this incredible sculpture with a piece behind her that is changing colors right now, and
Yeah.
it is truly awesome. So when you get done listening to this podcast, please switch over to the YouTube version and just watch it for her background. It is truly stellar.
Thank you so much. Yeah,
What
it's
is-
a Canadian sculpture. It's a 3D, and it's actually on a root. And kind of see, it's on the pearl on the tail there.
I love that.
But yeah, it's got like LEDs in there, so it changes colors. And I'm like, well, what kind of a critter changes colors? Chameleon kind of fit. And
Yeah.
then people get the colors of the glass, and it's hard for them to actually tell what colors they are because they are changing. So that's kind of a fun thing to witness when people see it.
So when the lights are off, what color is it?
I think it's just purple and green, like a lime green. But with the LED colors changing, it just changes all of it.
That is amazing.
That I couldn't. Wow,
Yeah, that's awesome.
that's so cool.
So it's attached to a tree root, correct?
Right.
Okay. So how do you get? I've thought of like 10 different places we could just dive into this conversation, but I'll start here. Where do you get a tree root to put to attach this?
I started in glass in Texas, and then after I moved to Northwest Arkansas in 1999, we're like 2 miles from a nice swimming hole down at the river, and I would just collect roots. We cleared for a garden, and I threw them around my yard. And I knew as an artist, you try to come up with something unique, and I already had fallen in love with stained glass and kind of started a career with that. And then after I moved here, I was literally in the backyard swinging and had an epiphany when I saw this root. I saw a dragon in it, and I was like,
Oh,
I can attach stained glass and create the wings, and then people can see what I see. And so after that, I would be floating down the river and pile all these roots on my stomach, and people would be like, "What the heck is she doing?" So I have like a chicken coop full of roots now out of the weather that are just kind of sitting there waiting to be created into something.
cool. Very cool. Were you always artistic?
I think so. I remember being in first grade and hearing about Vincent Van Gogh's ear, and I'm a little weird myself, so it just kind of, caught my attention. And then when I was in high school, I stopped following my brother's lead and took an art class, and was advanced into the advanced art class right away.
Hmm.
And then after I was in college, I think I was a business major my sophomore year for a day, and I'm like, I don't belong here, and switched it to art soon after that, and took a jewelry class at the University of North Texas, and then that's when I fell in love with the 3D form. So then I switched to sculpture, and I was one of only 2 or 3 girls in the sculpture lab. But one of the other girls, Renelle Stewart, she did stained glass, even though they didn't offer it at the college that I went to. And so I kind of watched her do it and knew it was a dying art form, and kind of never looked back at that from that point on.
Yeah, you don't hear about too many stained glass artists around anyway.
No, and it's always the traditional 2D windows, which I do get regular commissions to do those as well. But once I, did that first dragon, I did a few others, and I am kind of in the middle of nowhere, so I went into a farmer's market. I think it was a Friday night in Fayetteville, Arkansas, which is where the U of A is, and one of the more famous local artists, Hank Kaminsky, he did like a big piece fountain in Fayetteville. He kind of saw my potential and asked me to be part of this co-op of artists, which was called the Fayetteville Underground at the time. And so I joined that group of people. Then they had to relocate, and then I actually got a studio on the square for about 5 years. So that kind of, introduced my art to people as well. I think I made, like the paper a few times, and experienced Fayetteville. They had a write up about me, and that kind of thing. But and then I continued to work with the gallery, and then it changed into Art Ventures, and that was my last job as a gallery assistant there. So I got to know a lot of the local artists around the area, and we support each other and feed off of each other, which is always nice.
Yeah.
I love when other artists are supporting other artists. Um, I feel like there can be I feel
That
like
was
there
a
can
quick
be
grab.
uh,
Sorry.
I feel like there could be like a lot of gatekeeping when it comes to information. But how cool that somebody saw so much potential in you and was like, "Hey, come join us. Like, let's grow together." Have you been able to do that to other artists in your area?
Yeah, as a gallery assistant, I've we represented about 50 artists, and so we probably went through at least 100 different artists or more over the time frame that I'd been there. And at first, I just volunteered. It was kind of more of a co-op, and then it changed to a nonprofit. But I'm also in a gallery in Eureka Springs, and there's a neat little place down the road, Terra Studios. I used to be in a gallery in Little Rock, but it closed down. And I've also done like a few art expos in New York and Las Vegas. You got to pay to be in those, of course, but
Yeah. Cool though.
exposure.
Which one has been your favorites to be a part of?
Well, the underground was pretty neat because it was run by artists, and so I got to be on a council and help. We would curate our own shows and spaces, and it was a lot of cooperation going on, and then of course when it became a nonprofit, our organization, and we would pull in more artists from out of state and that kind of thing. So I think it won Best Gallery a few years in a row, and it was a lot of fun because we would have First Thursday events, which they still do in Fayetteville, but the art scene has kind of been pushed out a little bit here lately. But yeah, we would do every First Thursday events, and it would be a big kind of an opening every month. So that was a lot of fun. Dress up for and have some wine and everything. So it was really community oriented. And up here in Northwest Arkansas, they've got the Crystal Bridges, which is an American museum. And then I also won Best in Sculpture at the A&A Artists of Northwest Arkansas a few years back. And then I don't think you can see the ship, but I made a ship out of stained glass as well, and the sails were glasses, and it was in a root, and it won third place at the Portsmouth Museum.
That's also on your website too. So if anybody's listening, you can go to cheribohn.org, CHERIBOHN.org, and you can see the ship on the website, which you aptly named it Bon Voyage, which I thought was great.
Oh, I missed that. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I had a bonfire too that sold, so I had to.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
that's perfect. I'm so glad you did that.
Oh, that's so good.
It's kind of fun because when you enter competitions, you're not supposed to put your name in the, you're not supposed to give away who you are when you enter competitions, but it's part of the title of the piece. So I never know if I should change the spelling or not. But
Oh, I see. Well,
I mean,
well.
It could also be about somebody else. It could be a piece. You could be the Taylor Swift of like the art community and be make it about somebody else and just have be bonfire refers to, I don't know, someone from a previous life that you.
There you go.
Well, yeah, it could be about someone in your family too. I mean,
yeah, that's true.
And then gives people that feeling of like if you take Bon Voyage, be like, oh, somebody named Bon, and they were taking an image, so this symbolizes this, and it's really just my mind is going a million miles a minute faster than my mouth can keep up. So
I got a lot of the James Bond jokes growing up, of course.
Oh, sure.
We do have a question in the chat from Sandra. She said, is the underground still running or is it now Art Ventures?
That's what the name changed into, was Art Ventures.
Okay. And we've heard of Crystal Bridges. That's come up before too.
Yeah.
Probably.
I think Alice Walton is the one that started that one, and they actually have the original Walmart up there in Bentonville. So
that's right.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Have you been to the original Walmart?
Yeah. I had a show right next door, so it was kind of neat.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I don't want to really talk about Walmart on the show, but I want to know off topic. Like, I want to know if the original Walmart is like somehow of the flagship.
They still have the same toys in there, like some of the original toys. It's kind of really eclectic.
Yeah. Oh wow!
A little bitty thing off the square in Bentonville.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also have a public piece in 2020 when COVID hit. I did have a big commission, but after working in stained glass for so many years, I collect the pieces left over, little shards. So I have buckets of buckets of buckets of these shards. So when 2020 hit, I had seen a French door on just laying around and envisioned using these little shards on top of each other to create like a prism type looking thing.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's on my website as well, but it is on a public display in Fayetteville at the Ramble. So that's kind of nice to finally have I don't have a lot of outdoor pieces, but I've had like some collectors near here have commissioned some outdoor birds of mine. So I have another artist, sorry, my dog's chewing on, another artist do the bases for me, and then I do birds that can be outside.
Okay. I was about to ask if any of these could be outside.
Yeah, it's usually a little bit tricky. You got to have a metal base for it, and one time the high winds actually knocked it down, but it broke the base and knocked the bird. So I was like pretty impressed that.
Wow.
I guess the aerodynamics of the bird, with wind resistance. But yeah, it was pretty ironic.
The stained glass you do you do copper foil?
Both techniques. Over time, it's just evolved, and then when I got into the more 3D form, especially with the birds, I use like zinc to border the feathers. Um, and so that gives it strength as well as it's lighter than your traditional lead cane, which you use for the bigger windows. But if I do have a big window, I usually go to the traditional technique. It just kind of depends on the project, and sometimes I combine both as well.
I've
I
done oh, sorry, Trey.
no, go ahead.
I've done a little bit of stained glass, and I have like a little glass grinder and a tiny collection of glass here at home for that. And I haven't touched it in a couple of years now, but I just do the copper foil because that's what I know. Any other method is intimidating to me.
Mm-hmm.
When you started, what method did you use initially?
I started with the cane method. We did some aquariums, me and my friend.
Wow.
So the back of it was like stained glass, and then the border edges were stained glass as well.
Wow, that's cool.
And you said those were aquariums?
Aquariums, yeah, like fish
Oh
aquariums.
my
Instead of like the background with the landscape that they give you, or they used to have back in the day,
God.
glass back there. So you have to light it different, which you didn't think about when you're designing it, but you would like put a light behind it.
Sure.
The effect you want. I think I still have one. It leaked, but now we like put a mushroom log in there and try to get that going.
Yeah, that's really cool. I don't know why I didn't think about putting stained glass as an aquarium background. And now I must delve into that world. Because that's how this works. That's how this works. So if you were going to have you ever taught anybody else to do stained glass?
I have. I have done several local workshops, and
Okay.
then here lately I've done something like the door at the Ramble, where they just take a picture frame and make a mosaic out of this little glass shards. They don't really solder anything; they just glue it on there. And I actually taught at Crystal Bridges and several other places
Okay.
around locally.
Cool. So someone could look for you as a teacher. And do you still teach?
I do. I used to do one-on-one lessons when I had the studio on the square as well, and I just got hired at the Arkansas Arts Academy to teach 7th and 8th grade part-time. So
Awesome.
That's awesome. When people are getting into stained glass, what's one thing that you notice that most people do whenever they try to go for stained glass?
it's the soldering that people have trouble with when I've taught lessons, and I've taught jewelry classes, pendants as well, and to be honest, whenever I started, I would put the heavy metal on and go to town, with the soldering back in the day in the 90s. But now it's like the easiest part for me versus the hardest part. And what I used to like when I started was the grinding part because it's, fun and kind of, you just kind of get into a groove. And now it's the part I don't like. So it's kind of reversed roles, but yeah, it's the soldering that people get frustrated with because it's like a liquid metal, and you got to know when to pull it away or it'll drag it, and, just different things. But yeah, it's definitely an art in its own right to treat it as a liquid.
Yeah.
They do say that the stained glass windows, like in Europe, that have been up forever.
Mhm.
They say the top of the glass is thin and the bottom is thicker because over the centuries it has like the gravity has pulled the glass molecules down
I've heard this before, like with really old windows.
right.
They've said like glass is really kind of like a liquid still, but it's not like
If you
it.
go into an old building and you see the wavy and the old,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's the same kind of thing going on.
That's so mind blowing because it's so hard and brittle, and
Right.
you don't picture that it would be thicker at the bottom over that long. But
My mind is. I did not know this.
no,
No.
yeah, I had Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just saying it's kind of fascinating, to share that little bit of information.
Yeah. I think I lived in an old house once and there was a window that was kind of ripply like you're talking about. And I remember saying that, oh, I wish this glass was a little crisper, like
Yeah.
clearer. And someone said, oh, no, the reason for, and told me that. I don't know. I was in my early 20s at the time when I learned that. But it doesn't come up often either.
Right.
But I'm glad it came up today because, yeah, that is so weird and awesome and mind blowing. Like it could still melt, I guess,
Right.
if you could call it that.
As soon as you said melt, the first thing I thought of was the Wicked Witch from The Wizard of Oz. I don't know why. Um, so you said earlier that most people kind of think of the 2D versions, but you deal quite a bit in 3D, and especially with using tree roots in addition to stained glass itself. What's one thing that's hardest about working with in 3D with stained glass and with the tree roots?
When I started off trying to do the tree roots, I didn't really paint it. I was more of a raw root kind of thing, and I did what I call the gallery shuffle in Eureka Springs, where one gallery sends you to another gallery, sends you to another gallery, and all of a sudden you put them on, you haven't got your stuff placed anywhere.
Cool.
And then I started looking around at all the wood pieces that were on exhibit in Eureka Springs. Um, and they were of course painted and cleaned and polished and had the real shine. So then at that point I started to really clean them up. I think for one of my Christmas presents, I asked for a Dremel tool so that I could sand the roots, and I get covered. I mean, head to toe when I sand some of these things down, and sometimes nature will peel the bark off, but sometimes you got to go to town with the Dremel tool. But just figuring out how. I mean, through the years, I figured out how to overlay the glass into the wood, and sometimes I'll carve out a channel to set it in there, and then you always have the problem of dealing with a flat surface, into a 3D surface. But over the years, you just kind of learn the hard way and figure it out and keep going. I've had some that have had a wing flop over, and so you got to figure out what you got to do to make that not happen, and that kind of thing. But yeah, I guess I've been working with stained glass since the early mid '90s, and then once I moved to Arkansas, combining the two, I guess that happened around 2001, 2002. Um, Figured out that would be a new kind of art form to introduce to the world, and I actually like the roots. And, around here there's a lot of clay, so they have to dig out. The roots have to span out and go around a lot of rocks.
Yeah.
And so they have a lot of personality, especially down by the rivers, and sometimes they'll swallow up the rocks and that kind of thing. And like I had a tree fall down in my backyard, and kind of looked at it, and it was upside down. I flipped it over, and I could see the bottom of a turtle, and I knew right away it wanted to be a turtle. And this was a big tree root, and it was the same year that the Galapagos turtle, Lonesome George, had passed away.
Oh, yeah.
I dedicated it to Lonesome George.
Oh,
Yeah, sometimes
perfect.
I want to be this, and they're screaming at you, and other times you kind of flip it this way, that way, and try to figure out what it wants to be, and then you put it in a pile and forget about it, and then think about it later on when you have a project that needs it.
Do people find pieces of wood and give them to you as well?
They do, yeah. I've had quite a few people say, "Here," and they tell me that they go through the woods and see a root and think of me sometimes, which is really an honor. But yeah, it's kind of neat.
Yeah, like Trey and I both have done sewing, so you get people that are like, "Oh, here, take all this fabric off my hands," or "Here, I found this piece of fabric and thought of you," or. So I thought, surely that happens to you too. Do you ever take a root then, and if it doesn't immediately occur to you what it should be, do you ever take a root and make it, like carve it down to be something?
I have, yeah. Like I have a cat that is mainly root, and it's a little bit glass, and I had to like cut an ear and put it in a different spot and add legs. And so this is like, I tried to find the same type of wood and add that to it. And then the face and the eyebrow were there. I had to carve it down a little bit here and there and that kind of thing. So yeah, that's pretty standard.
Okay. Interesting. And then you got to a point where you decided to play with adding some LED lights to your designs. How did that happen?
I think a mutual friend of ours had an idea to do what they call a hypercube, and now my son actually computer programs, and he does some of the LED programming for it, and it's also on my website. But it's got like the infinity mirrors, a clear glass, but you put this film on it. So I make a cube out of that, and he designs the LEDs to put along the borders, and so you look into it, and it goes. Looks like you're looking into infinity. And so, after that idea was presented, the evolution of the chameleon came along, and I'm like, okay, what else can I do with light? Because it's glass and it's meant to be lit up. And I've also had the challenge of, half of my stuff hangs on the wall, so I have to use really opaque glass in order to really get the color to come through.
Yeah.
Because if it's on a dark wall, it's not going to do what I want. So I've always had that issue of how can I light this stuff up. And so, yeah, the chameleon. This is the second one I've made. I sold the first one. So,
okay.
Find?
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. Do you find a difference in like the different types of lights that you use, like LED versus iridescent, or incandescent, or just any type of those lights? Do you find some give you a different effect that you're looking for?
Well, this one was just a standard strand that you buy, at Lowe's or whatever. But when my son programs it, I think he special orders the LED strands. We have to get, a special kind, and he knows that more than I would know what to tell you at this point. I kind of leave all that techno stuff up to him.
But I love that it's a partnership between the you two, and so you're both putting a lot of your artistic vision into that.
The power of collaboration,
right.
I think, is evident there. Have you ever delved into other glass types of art, like glass fusion?
No, a friend of mine blows glass, so I've always wanted to, check that out. That's one of the only mediums that I've not delved into is glass blowing.
It's
but
pretty, yeah.
They do the little Bluebirds of Happiness right up the road. You've seen them probably around, but yeah, they were always enamored that. It's like it's the gallery I'm at. It's called Terra Studios. The Bluebird of Happiness there. So they used to blow them right in front of everybody. It was really fascinating.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. We had a glass blower on, and that was another fascinating. And this is like the year of glass, I think, for us here on the podcast, because we also had a glass engraver on the show. And these are all just fascinating episodes to me because I'm obsessed with glass, and I do some glass fusion myself. And I have delved, like I said, this much in. Oh yeah, that. Oh, you happen to have it right there.
You got texture on there as well, huh? Looks like it's textured, or has it got little droplets in there?
Little droplets, actually.
Yeah.
Yes, I had it especially for this episode.
Did you really? Oh, because I was like, how is it like right there? I don't have any of my own. Oh no, I do. It's right here. It's this little dish I made that has writing on it.
So yeah, some of the glasses was fascinating because I've been gifted glass as well, and like a lot of the '70s glass is so much thicker than the glass now, and even the glass I would buy in the '90s, I can't get the same color because the factories have relocated. And when they relocate, they get the local minerals to create the colors. And so the sources have changed.
Fascinating.
So the Lonesome George turtle that I did is pretty big, and a piece got broken accidentally, and so I don't know if I can find the same green to fix it.
Wow. I didn't even think about that. I had a question though, and now I just forgot it. Oh, have you ever tried working with like radium glass or any of the glass that like glows in the dark?
I haven't, but I've seen how you can like test it with the little light and antique shops and stuff. But yeah, most of that is like melted and not flat
Right.
glass.
But I thought if you ever found like flat pieces that
Oh
were,
yeah, and melded into it. You know, I've seen people use parts of the bottoms of cups that have broke off, and
oh, okay.
different ways that artists have utilized glass. It does break, but
Sure.
and then my friend did like a whole door that had like pieces of glass and the crystals and cogs and everything else way back in the 90s too. So,
That is all amazing to me. Do you find yourself ever making items that you don't want to sell or get rid of? Like, oh, I have to keep that
Oh,
forever.
yeah.
that's a great question.
Well, the first one I ever made is right over there, and I can't get rid of that one. The dragon, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
that's the first one that I saw. That's the only one that I wouldn't really part ways with. And of course, I'll make them, and my kids are like, "You can't get rid of that." Oh, no. Well,
Right.
it sells, you know. Sorry.
It's hard when it's you get attached to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trey, is there would you ever not sell a piece you made?
I was not expecting this question.
Mm. We usually don't.
No. um, I think I think the one that I'm currently working on, the double at the pants and the stuff that I'm making for Seth, I don't think that I'll ever get rid of that. Um, yeah, this is the thing I think that I've put the most effort into and the most design time into, so this one's special.
Relatable. Very
What
cool.
about, yeah, what about you?
Well, glass wise, I've not been married to anything. So, no, I would sell anything that, if someone offered me to buy anything I made, I'd be like, yes. But as far as sewing, the, my original 2000, hold on, let me think about the date. My original 2001 Renaissance dress that I made will never leave my possession.
Is it the
As
one
I
the
say that
red
now, but I could change my mind.
the red and black one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, don't. Mm-mm,
It's
no.
also like really worn out. Like the lining is threadbare, and it's seen some days. It's seen some things. It has some stories, so those stories need to stay with me in case it learns to talk. You know.
Okay. Um, you, Sherry, you say on your in your bio, and you've made reference to the medium that you use. So much of that comes from the earth itself, and
Mm-hmm.
that I noticed that you have used a lot of inspiration from different animals or different things that you can kind of interact with in nature. Where does that inspiration come from?
Well, I grew up on 25 acres in North Texas, out of Decatur, Texas, and my brothers would run off and leave me alone half the time. So, it was just me and nature. I mean, to critters and chickens, and I had a horse at one time, and just running around. But yeah, a lot of it comes from in nature. I think I only lived in the city 4 or 6 years my whole life when I was going to college, and then back out to the country again. So
So you're surrounded by it.
yeah, especially out here, lots of trees. We're 4 miles from the Ozarks National Forest, and so I think
Wow.
when we moved here, it was like an old logging road, and I've done lots of it. I don't know if you can tell behind me, but it's like my fireplace is a tree.
I was going to ask
Thank
what
you
the
so
tree
much.
was, but I
Yeah,
didn't know it was your fireplace.
yeah. So it's a ferro cement tree.
Wow.
So you going up into the ceiling there.
That is
So
really cool. Did you
thank
do
you.
that yourself?
I did, yeah. I do know the local guy near here, Eugene Sargent, that does a lot of like the benches at the parks that are made out of the ferro cement, and it took forever. My house still isn't finished, but it took forever to fill this hole behind me with the fireplace. And when I finally, was like, okay, I got money enough to pay someone to do it. They're like, your whole fireplace is scooted too far forward, we can't do what you want. I wanted river rocks,
Oh yeah.
and he's like, well, why don't you think about ferro cement? And so I'm like, okay, Eugene, tell me what to do. He's like, you don't need my help. You can do it. He had enough confidence. And so sure enough, I was like, okay, and went to town. And, I thought about just doing a little high relief, something or other abstract. And then as soon as I thought of a tree, I couldn't go back. And so I was bending rebar in the hot sun and using big wire. And you got to use like metal 2x4s and use chicken wire. And then you put the cement on layers. It's like most of it's hollow. So it's not a lot of weight, but it does get messy.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
That sounds like a really big job.
It was a big project. And then it's got the mirrors. I can see the reflection there. So the sky mirrors. And so it gives you, and then I've got a bunch of my plants around it as well. But,
how long did that take you?
Probably about 6 months. The kids helped with the last part, putting the cement on. But yeah. And also, I'm newly single, so.
So if there's anyone out there,
please email us at the Modrom Dating Show at themodrom.com.
We should create this email. If anyone emails it right now, though, it's not created yet, so we won't get it.
I've reconnected with like my old high school boyfriend, which has been kind of interesting too.
Oh, fascinating.
That's awesome. Well, best of luck on that venture. I hope things go well.
Yeah.
I feel a trend here. We recently had another guest that also reconnected with a previous person from school. I need an update on that. I shall ask. It's Desiree Pesta, who is a costume designer who was on our show, I don't know, a month or so ago. And she gave me an update that they actually went out on a date. Okay. Yeah, I'll tell the story after. I'll tell the story after this. But
okay.
yeah, they actually went out. And I guess she had a great time. And so I need an update from her, though. I want to know where things stand because it's been a few weeks. So, yeah, I want to know how yours is going, too, because this seems to be like, it's not just the year for glass. It's also the year for reconnections. Mm-hmm. And so far, they're going well. So I hope this goes well for you, too.
Yeah, it's so far gone really well.
Awesome.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, I know. We should have like a separate show just for this sort of thing.
I do want to ask, because I had to remind myself where Decatur was. Do you know where Lubbock, Texas is?
I do, yeah.
Okay. Do you know where Plainview, Texas is?
Plainview?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've heard of it, yeah.
Okay. That's where I'm from.
Okay. Wow, small world.
Yeah, right. Seriously. Now, we used to play Decatur. We did, like, I was in tennis. And so some of the places that we would want to go play with or play against were not of the same size that our school was. So we would have to like venture a little farther out to go to some of the places. And one of those was Decatur.
Okay. You may have played with my brother. I don't know.
Oh.
You look a little bit younger than me, but I don't know.
This would have been, like 2002, 2003-ish?
Oh, yeah. No, this was like the late 80s, so you wouldn't have played with
me. Okay. Still, it was really fun. But yeah, small world.
Yeah. Those little towns in Texas, I'm telling
you. You blink, you miss them.
Yeah.
So, having gone through stained glass.
Oops, sorry.
You're good. So, working with stained glass and having created some truly incredible pieces, do you ever look at them and go, wow, I made that? Or like, do you ever take that step back, or are you so in the moment of creating it, you're like, yeah, I made that?
Yeah. I don't know. In the beginning, I think I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I thought of this, and I'm actually doing it. But now when I get into a project, I'm really in the moment and just trying to kind of figure it out. And then after the piece is done, and a lot of the last steps is like painting the wood, which really brings it to life. And then, sorry about my granddaughter. She's right there,
That's all right.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I guess so. I always liked challenges, and so I've had some really large windows that I've had to do, and it takes 3 people to flip it over, and so that was its own challenge in its own right. And I guess the longest 3D piece I've done is about 4 feet high, which is like a flamingo. And then I did do a 7 foot long water dragon at one point.
Wow.
So I guess after I'm done, I kind of step back and go, yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. But I don't know. I think it was a talent that some people are born with, and you just gotta kind of harvest it.
Sure.
Yeah.
What is one thing when you create that what is part of the process that you enjoy the most, I guess, is what I was trying to ask.
Let me think. I think as far as the 3D pieces, when I put the wings on the dragon or the butterfly, it really kind of makes it whole, because I'll do them in 2 different parts, and then in the end I'll attach it with hardware, and so yeah, I think when just the final project, when you can really see it, because in a lot of windows, the 2D windows, I don't even know what it's going to look like till I've soldered it and put it up in front of the light. And so,
Yeah.
sometimes you're just, hit or missing or hoping. I do use a light table and that kind of thing.
And then what part of it makes you go like, yes, this is why I do what I do? Is it that same moment?
I think that moment is more when, I get a sale.
Yeah.
Or a commission, and I like to do commissions. I've had those more lately, and now I get to work more one-on-one with the customer and really give them what they want. So that's kind of a lot of fun as well. But for me, I mean, I honestly, living out here in the middle of nowhere, I felt like Van Gogh. I was like, she just unplugged something. Let me put that
Yeah,
back
go
on.
for it. We lost our light.
There we go. Sorry, the light turned off.
There we go. It's cool.
Okay. But I lost my train of thought there. Sorry.
Yeah. It was. You said getting commissions commissions allows you to work with the
people
person. Yeah. That's interesting too, because it's totally a different. Well, I guess maybe I should ask what your approach is, because I used to do commissions for various things like sewing and things like that, and taking a commission is always, to me, very stressful, because I'm now making someone else happy with my art. So it's like a whole nother dimension of being artistic and creative. How do you approach it? Do you just say, okay, I want carte blanche, it's my art, I'll make a dragon, but
I want to give them what they want, and a lot of times I overwhelm them with the questions. Sometimes they appreciate it, but I really want to give them what they want. And so, I just got to read the customer, or whoever I'm dealing with, and kind of figure out if do they want me to take the lead, do they really want it specific. And so I do have, a lot of one-on-one conversations with these people to kind of get them exactly what they want. But yeah, when I was out here, I didn't know if I'd sell any pieces or not until that Hank Kaminsky guy found me and kind of brought me into that art collective. And being there on the square with the studio definitely exposed me to lots of people. I actually had a wall where people could leave little messages, and different people would work it. So we had people coming through, all the time, and on this wall became 3 sticky notes thick over 5 years that I was there.
wow.
And some people from Egypt came through, and Morocco, and left little notes, and so that was really
Wow, that's so cool.
See, yeah, and of course I saved them, but yeah, that was kind of neat just to have the ability for the public to leave little notes here and there. That was kind of neat.
I love that. It's like a guest book, but
right, yeah.
Yeah. That's very cool.
And they just kept accumulating over the years, and I'd always have to keep a pad and things. And so yeah, it's kind of neat.
I do have to ask because my boyfriend and I actually finished watching Star Trek, like the entirety of New Next Generation recently. And there's a piece on your website, the Borg Cube. I have to ask, was that a commission or was that something that that you created for yourself?
Well, I like when we were at the underground, we would have our own shows. They would feature an artist, and then other artists would be a part of the show as well. So when I was featured, I wanted to do a science fiction show,
Hmm.
and so I had a few Star Wars. I had R2D2 and a Grand from Star Wars, and then so the Borg is from Star Trek,
Hmm.
the Borg cube, and so
Yeah.
I had to find a way to incorporate Star Trek into my science fiction show, and I also did some of the Transformers as well for that science fiction show.
That's so cool. Are you a Trekkie?
I like Star Wars. I was
Okay.
a 70s kid. I have to admit it. The Force and yeah.
Yeah, and you did like an R2D2. That was really cool.
Yeah, one of my I was on the drill team in high school, and one of my fellow dolls bought it, and she's down in South Padre. We have a ladies' retreat, and so she was one of those that ended up with it. But yeah, it's kind of fun. We had that whole thing back in the day. Are you Trekkie or Star Wars? I was like, I like both of them, but I guess if it gets down to it, I gotta go with Star Wars. Yeah.
Yes. That is still an acceptable answer.
There
We
is
like
no
that.
wrong answer there, right?
I dressed up as Princess Leia, and I think my boyfriend was R2D2 back in kindergarten. Back in the day.
It's fun.
So
Uh,
real quick, the R2D2 is under lamps on your website, I think. Is it a?
Yeah.
It's a lamp. So okay, if anyone wanted to go see it, that's where you'd find it. Sorry, Trey.
you're good. What pieces are you working on now that you're at liberty to tell us about?
I just got done with the commission and delivered it Friday, and so right now there's actually nothing on my table. Um, I have been wanting to work in bronze, which I haven't done since I was at the UNT. My youngest child passed away about a year and a half ago, Mystic Rhythm, and so I'm wanting to kind of express the pain that a parent feels through some pieces, and so that's kind of been on the back burner for me, is to try to delve into working with bronze. I'll probably have to have somebody cast it, but I think I'm going to do the mold out of wax, and so that's kind of just something that's there that could be a body of work one day as well.
Fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you post your commissions on your website at all?
I've been pretty bad about keeping my website updated. I do a lot on Facebook, and I try to do a lot on Instagram, and I have done some stuff on TikTok as well. But Facebook is where I usually post a lot of my commissions and work that I'm doing presently. Like I said, my website is way outdated. I need to update it for sure.
We can relate to that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And Kaz in our chat said, "My heart goes out to you, Cheri, about your son." So yeah, I'd like to watch some of those commissions. That sounds really neat.
Yeah.
Also, on your website, I just want to say that everything is amazing. I'm drawn specifically to. I thought I would love the dragons the most, and I really do love them. But the birds, there's something about the lines you make with feather to create like feathers and these like, I don't know. There's something about that shape and the way you do it that really speaks to me, and I want a bird really bad. Look at all of them are so cool. I particularly love the peacock one, but there are others that. Sorry, I was looking just now, and it just. Yeah, they're all so cool.
Thank you.
How
I haven't
would
done a bird in a while. I did 3 or 4 of them for there's a couple around here that supports a lot of local art, and they have about 4 of my birds, 3 for outside and stuff.
Yeah. How if someone wanted to commission you to make something, would they just contact you through the website? Is that the best way?
Yeah, I'm real bad about not answering my phone. She can leave a message or send me an email, and I'll respond to that. And then I think there is a message thing that you can do on my website as well.
Okay.
And then I do have an art page on Facebook, but I do post more on my personal page. But people will follow me on there as well. I think you can just do a Google search with my name, and a lot of the art will show up there. One of those unique names. So.
Okay. We'll find a way to connect with that, and then if you want us to post it with the episode, we can, so that our viewers can and our listeners can find you and follow your journey as well. Very cool. Sorry, Trey, you were about to say something.
Yeah, we go back to that same thing. So Cheri, just have two more questions for you. One, for those that are wanting to get into stained glass or get into working with tree roots and stained glass, what piece of advice would you give to those just starting out?
Be prepared to cut your fingers a lot. I think when I started off, I had like 20 Band-Aids on my fingers, and now I've got a thick layer of skin because I can get cut and don't even bleed these days. And even your knuckles working with wood, you would think that you wouldn't get bunged up with wood, but yeah, you're going to get bunged up. I think I bleed on just about every piece with my DNA in there.
It's extra special.
I had a tailor who said that you weren't an official tailor, or you weren't a person who sewed until you sewn a needle through your finger. So I guess that makes you a true artist. I don't know. I don't know.
That are really just accident prone.
And burns too. You get those too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The solder and stuff.
But I think that's good advice. It's setting expectations of, it's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just have Band-Aids.
Yeah,
the other thing is, or the other question I have is, if there is one person, specifically an artist, that you would love to sit down and have lunch with for 2 hours, who would it be?
Andy Goldsworthy.
Ooh, quick answer.
Yes.
I love that.
He has always been my favorite. I had a professor at school introduce me to his work, and he definitely inspired me.
Actually, I had to look him up because I think you mentioned him on your website as well. What are some things that you love about him?
Well, he works with nature almost directly, and a lot of his stuff is temporary. Like he'll take, leaves and design, put them around a tree in specific colors, or he'll take an icicle and wrap it around a tree, and so that's temporary. Or he'll do a reflection in a pond with sticks. So he was very in touch with nature, and using that as his medium. It's more photography, of course, but he does have pieces around that are stone and in different museums and such. Kansas City, I got to go see that one up there. And then in New York once, I think he has some stuff up there. But yeah, he definitely inspired me to look at nature in a different way.
He's the one that does he'll do like a gradient of leaves on the ground around a tree or something.
Right.
Yeah, I love that stuff. So cool.
Yeah, his work, it's very, very neat. He still comes up with this stuff.
That is so cool. I love how much that you're respectful of nature and that you're using that as inspiration, and how much that you've used and reused different things and found a way to transform something that may have otherwise just wound up being firewood somewhere else and turned it into a transformative piece of art. That is truly inspiring.
Yeah, sometimes I'm wonder how many awesome pieces of roots have ended up in a fire pit, people just don't see it.
Right.
Yeah,
or even rot away, in the rain. So.
And we're just thankful that you look at something and you see art, or if a tree falls over in the forest, you heard the sound of art.
That's a good one.
I like that. That's good.
So Cheri, I really just want to say thank you so much for spending time with us and sharing your art with us. It's been fascinating to listen to you and talk about your inspirations today. So thank you so much for being with us on the podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's been fun.
Oh, I'm glad. Well, everyone, please go check out Cheri's website. Um, excuse me. You can check out some phenomenal pieces. You can also contact her to get yourself a commission. So please, please, please go search her out. That is cheribohn.org, CheriBohn.org. As we close this episode out, this episode, along with probably every other episode, will be dedicated to Joe Capone, our moderator, fellow comedian, passionate encourager, and greatly missed friend. You can find us pretty much wherever you tune into podcasts. For updates, announcements, and more, follow us on social media under Modern Romantic. Thanks, everybody, and step outside today. Take in the fresh air, and yeah, just enjoy life. Have a great night, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks.